have no idea.
Can I have your autograph?
Huh. Left.
You're kind of short.
Wait till Mom sees this.
You speak English?
Look out. The real Spider. Those guys aren't messing around.
Hey, strike a pose!
Oh, hey, Spider-Man! Find me later. No investment opportunity.
Wait, you jumped through that window! Wow! Just wow!
You can't really be here. You saved my mom from a fire once. Thank you.
Subway's that way.
Excuse me.
Cool window, but I always get the feeling something strange is going on in that place. One of Howard's pigeons. Oh, come back, little birdie! Whoops. This pigeon knows the city better than I do.
Situation. Need additional units to the lower east side.
Yo, sleep it off. Huh? Hey guys, bird watching? I saw some pigeons over there. Can't have the ones inside feeling left out. going down. MJ, I'm at the first location on your list, and guess what I found?
Demons?
Give the lady a prize. See if you can figure out what they're up to while I introduce myself. Time.
贝斯克又有成群的律师，也就是我们的方法更永久，而我们杀的越多，就越容易让他们输到分散。
什么鬼
Literally didn't see that coming.
向他逼击！别让他成功！一起上！我要把你炸成碎片！你完了！别过去！
啥？干掉他！
大家攻击！我们有人挡车！
你仔细炸了！
I hope you new guys can up your game, because those last guys, yawn.
知道该怎么做？
Peter, that location's supposedly an importer of souvenirs for Chinatown shops.
What they're importing is not something I want as a memento.
Drugs?
Demons. Looks like they bring in their buddies in shipping containers. Explains how foreign nationals with criminal records are getting into the country. You guys look mad. I admit, I used all my good quips on the others, but I don't mind repeating myself.
援助这一招！
这回你查去哪里找？他在空中会更危险。该手榴弹了！快要扔了！死定！
This is like when the band's doing its fourth encore and you just kind of want to go home.
怎么回事？ 退开！别动！
Step right up, fellas. I got plenty of webbing for all of you.
依然。
MJ, call the police. All the demons are incapacitated.
Don't forget to bring me a souvenir.
Police look like they could use some help. There's probably more of them inside. You guys stay here. Somebody was in a hurry.
Spider-Man!
You're hurt.
I'm okay. But you gotta find Mr. Standish, fast. Those guys in the masks kidnapped him and forced him up to his place. He lives in the penthouse, top floor.
Okay, sit tight.
蜘蛛侠，杀了他！
So glad you're here. I can't find my car. I could have sworn I parked on this level.
哇，也快！ 怎么这么大了？没有投降。你完了！把他留在地上。大什么熊学二招，动不动了，要把你炸成碎片。 我们需要支援，刺激我们！这手榴弹呢？他装上了。
Wait, you guys work here too? This building is serious about parking enforcement.
别动摇！要上了！
Good fight. A for effort. Elevator won't work, they know I'm here. But maybe I can sneak up through the elevator shaft. Should be able to make it up to the penthouse from here. If I get closer, I can take him out. Okay, almost there. Stay out of the light. Nice and easy. Tall building. Firebombs? Seriously? Move! Uh-oh! Not good. There's Standish.
Okay, now what?
Enter your password.
他死了是吧？别低估他，注意电梯附近。
He sounds nervous. Maybe I should take him out.
Shh. 看看谁敢来找死！我们时间到了。 这时候了。计划必须成。 就知道了。等等，我听到有声音。 嘘。
Need to clear the room before I talk to Standish.
"计划必须成功。
Sweet dreams. Okay, all clear. Hope Standish is all right. Let's try this again. It's safe now. What were they after?
Just financial records.
About Devil's Breath?
How do you know about that?
Why do they want it?
I don't even know what it is. Mr. Osborn's been pouring money into it for years, but he keeps the whole project a secret. I'm the only one who has any record of it.
Not anymore. Looks like they copied some records to a secure server. Payroll information. On a Dr. Isaac Delaney. Who is he?
I honestly don't know.
Down!
Come on, come on!
Wait, the elevator! Hold on! Almost got him! Try to fall slower! Gotcha! You okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Good. Good. You know, as elevator shafts go, this is pretty nice. Hey, Yuri.
You okay?
Yeah, but I didn't get much out of Standish before these Sable guys stepped in and told me to back off. What's the deal?
I get the sense all they care about is keeping him quiet.
Because he knows about Devil's Breath.
Right. Whatever the hell that is.
I'm working on that. I think I just got a lead.
A lead? You sound like a cop.
Don't you mean... Spider Cop? Yuri? That's fair.
Peter, what happened with Standish?
He's safe.
Okay, good. And the demons?
They were looking for a name. You got a pen?
Yeah, go.
Dr. Isaac Delaney.
Okay. Who is he? What's his deal?
I was hoping you could tell me.
I'm on it. Just give me a few. Oh, and before I forget, you left that tracker from Tombstones at my place. I'll drop it at Dr. Octavius's lab. Let you know what I find on Delaney.
Message from Doc.
Sorry to call so late. My mind's bursting with ideas. We've been thinking too small, Peter. Why replace missing limbs with facsimiles when we can improve upon them? People who've lost an arm understandably want it back, but we can give them something better. The human body doesn't need to be our default. We can go so far beyond it. Just some thoughts to conjure with.
Doc's really giving it both barrels. Hope he doesn't burn himself out.
Hey, do you have time to check something out for me?
No, but if you ask nicely...
Just got a call about a suspicious-looking box on a rooftop in Hell's Kitchen. I could call in the bomb squad, but if it's just some kid's science project...
Yeah, I know. Budget crisis, yada yada yada. So...
Will you... please check it out?
There's the magic word. I hope it's some kid's science project. Man, I miss those days. School projects are so much easier than real-life projects.
Traded wrestling companies. Fuck. But after all this, normal outside people are looking going, well, what the fuck are they doing? They can't just change direction on a dime. That's why the stock price went down. So Vince wants to play in this world. He can't do that shit anymore, which is why wrestling not only should never be national for one thing, but wrestling should never be publicly traded. Because then you can't offend anybody, for fuck's sake. And then where are you at? But the tiered network and all this stuff they've been planning, I can see where, can't you, if they had this long-term strategic plan for all this, that, and the other thing and thought it was valid, and Vince just says, no, let's do something different one day, you can see where there might be some conflict. Yeah. Although, to me, the tiered network, I guess they would add extra services if you paid a little bit more. They're basically not addressing the real problem,
I should examine
which
the
is everybody's
transmitter
problem.
found.
They're trying to get more money out of the people that exist instead of trying to get more people. Just like every other wrestling promotion is doing, because that's what we're down to now. And we're going to go into that more heavily when we talk about all petite wrestling. But it's never been more plain and obvious for the kind of people who like this kind of thing. That's the kind of thing those people like, but there's fewer and fewer of them. And they're trying to get them to spend more and more money per head. And sooner or later, there's going to be, what do they call it, a tipping point? Or just a, what the fuck? You think we're all Nelson fucking Rockefeller around here? We got millions of dollars to spend on this shit. No, you need multiple millions of people instead of people with multiple millions of dollars. Because the multiple millions of people, there's more of them than there is the people with the multiple millions of dollars. But I don't know how that a tiered network is going to solve anything when what else can they give people they've already given them the entire library that's up for grabs that they've digitized and got ready on the network. They've already given them all the pay-per-views. They've already given them all these specials, $9.95 a month. They think just because they give them a few independent groups from fucking England that are willing to work with them and that they don't view as a threat, so that they'll put them on the network, that's going to be worth an extra however much per month. I don't think there's enough people that, you know, that's going to make a big difference. And, you know, but yeah, you know, as far as the WWE Network goes, I don't see what they can put on now that drastically increases the value besides a bunch of independent shows, like I said, from England or wherever.
Keeps the snacks stocked up.
Yes, some people want to see those, but not in great numbers. It's not like they're adding, oh, we've just found 20 new WrestleManias. You know, and that's... So now they're stuck. So now Vince wants to fucking just blow the whole thing up. I've said, Vince is like Donald Trump, except he knows, you know, more words. He's smarter, smoother, and has better manners. But he still wants to blow everything up on a whim just because he, you know, gets an idea. So I don't see where they're gonna. The stock price will be interesting for a while. Is all I've got to say. Is all I got to say about that.
And a lot of calls on that conference call, the earnings call, wondering about the XFL. How does this affect everything? And Vince kept saying, it doesn't affect anything. It doesn't. It's a different staff, different...
That's another... He's got such a fucking grudge this thing didn't fly. Who gives a fuck about fucking football? And he's 75 years old, and he's a billionaire, and he's going to work himself to death trying to fucking do the, you know, redo something that that didn't work.
You know, Jim, a lot has been said about Vince McMahon's taste in food, or lack of taste in food. We've heard about you and various other people spending a day at the house and going and getting... I guess you were getting okay food. He was getting a very dry lunch.
I would go down. There was a little store, a little country store, Connecticut style, right? The old Connecticut road there that he lived on. It'd probably been there for ages, and they had the deli counter, and they also had the you know, the fry area and a little lunch counter there. And I'd get a Philly cheesesteak, or maybe I'd get the chicken fingers, or I'd get, you know, what, a burger, something, everything. And he would take me and Bruce or Shitstain or whoever was, you know, working with him at the time, and he'd pay for everybody's lunch. He would invariably get a turkey sandwich on white bread.
Reverse engineer this? It should track Tombstone's shipments.
Light mustard. Because there he gets his protein. There's no fat going on. I'm surprised he didn't get rye or wheat or something, but he would get white bread. But
that's what I was going to say.
That was only actually to give him something so his hands wouldn't touch the turkey, I think. And he would eat the whole goddamn sandwich in like 6 bites. And it's fuel. It's fuel, pal. He did.
Who is he kidding? He goes to bed, he has a bunch of Oreos.
Well, and see, that's somebody said, asked him that question one time. He said, well, if I'm going to cheat, I'll eat a whole box of Oreos at one time. I'm sure he did, but I've never seen him do it. You know, he would probably, oh, good Lord, I'm a junk food junkie. Good Lord, have pity on me. In the middle of the night, he's eating the Oreos. But that was the thing, because as Mama Cornette used to say about me, Jimmy, you live to eat. But Vince eats to live. It's fuel that is necessary for him to intake in order to have the energy to work out and work. That's what it is. But having said that, it's not that Vince will just eat any shit because he doesn't care. It has to be usually either expensive or very low fucking everything. But if he picks where to go out for dinner or just a meal, it's invariably a steakhouse. And then he'll get the big giant steak and fucking sit and eat that in giant bites also. But that makes him feel like a carnivore, you know, because that's...
But there's a big difference, too.
It's not like he's going out and eating just some kind of Poofter's old French toast or anything.
Well, there's a big difference, too, between a turkey sandwich in the afternoon and a nice big old steak for dinner.
Well, but it's intake for him. But most normal people want to savor the experience. But, you know, he'll just get a taste. He's attacking the meal like he attacks his work, like he attacks his opponents, like he attacks the day. But folks, if you don't want to be attacked because you can't pay your bills, you don't want to go to the steakhouses that Vince McMahon goes to. Oh, no, you don't. Because they will break your bank. But you can still eat like you're going to a fancy steakhouse, and you don't even have to walk out your front door because they'll bring it to your front door. Of course, Brian, I'm talking about our friends at Omaha Steaks. And I'll have you know that several days before Christmas, we could not wait. And we went ahead and broke into the Omaha Steaks that we've been saving for our Christmas dinner and had several of the, Stacy had one. I had the remaining number of these things. I won't mention the exact number that we're eating. The bacon-wrapped filet mignons. Oh, boy, howdy. And we had some of those along with the individual scalloped potatoes and made sure to season them liberally with the Omaha Steaks seasoning, and our lips smacked our brains out. Because Omaha Steaks is ready to ship today. You may have missed Christmas, but what better for a new year than to eat steak? Because you know what Mama Cornette used to say, what you do on New Year's Day, you'll do all year long. So eat steak. Folks, if you go to omahasteaks.com right now and enter JCE into the search bar, you can save over 50% on the perfect gift package. The perfect gift package contains, taking a big breath here, 4 bacon-wrapped filet mignons, 4 boneless chicken breasts, 4 Omaha Steaks burgers, 4 gourmet jumbo franks, 4 individual scalloped potatoes, 4 caramel apple tartlets, 1 jar of signature seasoning, and if you put that JCE in the search bar, another 8 free Omaha Steaks burgers in that package. I mean, literally, you could take this into a bomb shelter, and you could be poor old Burgess Meredith in time enough at last, and you wouldn't starve for months. Folks, again, omahasteaks.com, the keyword JCE in the search bar. They're ready to ship today. You don't have to worry about this taking till Valentine's Day, because they do this shit for a living, folks. They know how to get it to you, and fresh. Or grill. omahasteaks.com, keyword
Just gotta follow the signal.
JCE in the search bar.
Should lead to whatever it is
50%
Tombstone's
off
moving.
the perfect gift package to your door, and it's got cold air and automatic transmission. Folks, you're going to enjoy those steaks as you stick them down your gullet.
All right, well, let's hear from, I was going to say another gluttonous gourmet, but he's really not either of those. Certainly not the galloping gourmet. Maybe the gourmet of hit and miss wrestling, I guess we can call it that.
Wait a minute. What was the name of the galloping gourmet, Brian Last?
Graham Kerr.
God damn you.
I love the galloping gourmet. I used to love watching it.
Look, galloping gourmet?
Yeah, I used to love watching the galloping gourmet.
The galloping gourmet used to gallop across the TV screen, grilling gourmet victuals. I couldn't think of a G word for food.
He was great when he was drunk, and then after he had the stroke, not so much.
Well, and he had a little droop to him then, didn't he? Thank you. I didn't remember that about. I always remembered Graham Kerr in happier days, but now you've put a picture in my mind of him as a disabled, older, stroke-ridden individual, and now that's a great thing to think about for the holidays.
I've never seen a chef jump over a chair better than he did.
But they
I guess not jump. He galloped over the chair.
They should have called him the Canterbury Cook.
Why would they call him that? He was the galloping gourmet.
He had Kenny Olivier's little canter, where he just did a little skip over the canter, little canter.
If anything, Omega has his canter, not the other way around. He came first, and he was in syndication.
Well, I guess so the galloping gourmet came first and emitted Kenny Olivier. There may be truth to that.
You know, maybe I'm too hard on Omega. If his influences are really Graham Kerr and Harpo Marx, I mean, those are my influences. Maybe I'm too hard on him.
He didn't take their best points.
No, he didn't. But Vince McMahon certainly didn't take the best points of many wrestlers that he stole from many promotions over the years. Let's find out what tale we're going to hear next about Vince McMahon. Our next question, Jim, sent in to cornydrivethrough@gmail.com from John in Detroit, Michigan. I've watched a Scott Hall shoot interview where he says that when he went to the WWF to get hired, he did a Tony Montana Scarface impression in front of Vince, who apparently didn't know about the movie or the character, and that was the genesis of Razor Ramon. I also remember from 2006, when Paul Burchill was dressed as Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean films, they gave him entrance music directly ripped from the Hans Zimmer scores of those movies. News sites at the time said that the gimmick was dropped because nobody told Vince it was all from a movie franchise he had never seen. In your time at WWE, was Vince totally out of touch with movies and pop culture like this?
Well, I can tell you that I've never seen the goddamn movie either, and never saw Paul Burchill as a pirate, because I didn't watch any of that shit. But I can believe it. You know, yeah, they probably... Well, first of all, with the Razor Ramon thing, he was doing... What was he doing in WCW? The Diamond Stud?
The Diamond Stud, yes.
And Scott Hall has... I don't even know if I'd call it an accent, but just a way of speaking normally that kind of lent himself to doing a little fucking Tony Montana type of, you know, accent thing. And I think he just looked like that, and he just probably did it, and Vince said, yeah, you know, what the fuck? And there you go. With the stuff with Burchill, I can believe it, because I don't know that I ever heard Vince talk about ever seeing a movie. I mean, I haven't seen a lot in a while because nothing interests me, to be quite honest. But you know, Bruce used to joke that Vince hadn't gone to the grocery for himself since 1984, and it was 1996 at that time, and I can believe that too. I couldn't see Vince in a fucking grocery. So, but I can also see that if he found out, well, fuck, these fucking high-paid writers that I've got are just fucking ripping off a goddamn movie, fuck you, do something on your own. Who knows? But yeah, it's entirely believable.
All those times you were at Vince's house, did he ever watch TV?
No. Unless we had to watch a clip of something, which we'd go and put in the VCR, there wasn't a TV in the room when we were writing. I wish there had been. I could have fucking paid attention to something else besides fucking shit stain every once in a while. Remember I told you the time that me and Bruce and Vince are sitting there. Can't remember if shit stain was there by then or not. And the cable guy comes in. And Vince says, yeah, right back there, pal, because he had a living room behind. We would sit at his small dining room table, and that was off the kitchen, and then he had a living room area in the back. And then he'd say, right back there, pal, no audio. And the cable guy goes back, and he comes back in like 45 seconds with the remote in his hand. He says, sir, see this button that says mute? Oh, okay. And he handed the guy $100. He called the cable company because he couldn't get any audio on his television. It was the fucking mute button. And he gave the guy a $100 tip when he left.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I mean, I guess if there, you know, it was some big sporting event or he'd want to watch the Super Bowl or whatever, but I don't remember him ever saying he had watched anything on television or seeing him watch anything on television except a wrestling, you know, production of some kind, usually that he was involved in. He didn't watch other wrestling, but every once in a while you could make him watch a tape of some specific guy.
Our next question, Jim, sent in to cornydrivethrough@gmail.com from Corey in New Jersey. Jim, many people have said Vince McMahon could be a unique individual to deal with. My question is, with Vince being so wealthy and seemingly so aloof from the mundane, what would Vince carry in his wallet if you ever saw it? Did he carry cash, family photos, lots of credit cards? What else would you say Vince normally carried in his pockets daily?
Oh, God, well, I've seen his wallet many times, and he carries if he's fucking going to the, you know, the little convenience store down from his house to get a turkey sandwich, he might not have $5,000 on him, but he's always got money, and he has plenty of credit cards. I didn't ever go through Vince's wallet, so I don't know about his family pictures. It wasn't like he ever pulled any out and said, hey, look at Stephanie when she was 4. because we're too busy fucking working. I've mentioned he doesn't often do things out in public for himself anymore, such as going. I think Bruce said 1984 was the last time he'd been to the grocery. I believed it. They had a live-in couple that did those type of things. But Vince, he's got some kind of membership or something. I didn't even know they had this. The Hertz, I don't even know whether it's platinum or diamond or just Hertz, big fucking millionaire shot fucking card. But I found it out one time, he always likes to cut it close to get into the airport. And I'm always want to be there 2 hours early so I can calm down and, meditate. He's like 3 seconds away from the fucking plane. We don't care. So we're late one time. It's me and Jim Ross, Bruce Pritchard, and Vince in Vince's rental car. And I said, Vince, I don't think we're going to make this flight by the time we drop the car over tonight. He said, I'll just leave it out front. What? He had some kind of arrangement with Hertz. Wherever he leaves the goddamn rental car is wherever he leaves the goddamn rental car. Whether it's out in front of the fucking airport, whether it's downtown at his hotel, whether it's, I don't know, a crack neighborhood. Apparently he said, I can leave this car anywhere I want to. They'll come get it. And I was driving, right? And he said, just pull up here. And this is before 9/11, yes, right? But we pulled up to the end of where you've checked baggage in, just the end, not right in front of the counter, but the end. He said, leave it here, I'll call and let him know. He said, here, take the key, drop the keys off, right? I've got the keys. Well, I'm so fucking panicked by the time I get my bags, and we've just left this car on the fucking sidewalk, and I'm so bumfuzzled, and we're running through to catch it. I forget to drop the keys in the basket. So I still have the keys to that rental car in my office on one of the shelves, because he said, just drop the keys in the basket, they'll come get it. Well, I've still got the keys. I don't know whether they ever got it or not. I don't think he cared. He would just leave them if once it's kind of like a metaphor for the wrestlers. Once the rental car had outlived its usefulness, he just left it where it was.
What kind of car did he typically rent?
One of the big ass, Lincoln town cars or, full-size fucking old white millionaire cars.
Well, our next question, Jim, sent in the corny drive-thru at gmail.com.
Well, you're laughing because I got gas now?
The way you said it humored me, yes. This was sent in by Stephen in Kildare, Ireland. On your most recent episode of The Experience, you mentioned that Vince McMahon in his request to kill the business twice over and move it away
running a
from
chop
wrestling,
shop's the worst thing he's up to.
that he had accidentally created many Vince-isms. You've already touched on some of these before, such as medical facility and don't say belt and the like. Could you deep dive into that encyclopedia in that head of yours to cover as many of the Vince-isms and what they are / mean as you possibly can?
Oh, God. Well, everybody knows belt. You can't say belt, and wrestling has been banned and wrestler for a while. One time I was actually doing commentary on one of the syndicated shows. We're doing the voiceover commentary of pre-taped matches at the studio in Stamford. And I remember it was Taka Michinoku, because JR and I were calling the match, and I said something to the effect of, well, Taka Michinoku better concentrate on doing something or he's not going to win this wrestling match. And JR started to say something, and Jennifer Good, the producer, said, stop. What? Can't say that. What'd we
Weak
say?
signal.
Can't say wrestling. I said, what? I didn't even realize what I'd said. I said, wait a minute. I can't say he's got better concentrate on winning this wrestling match? No. God damn it. And I hated to stop down because JR and I, for months in a row, would do 2 hours of television voiceovers every, I believe it was Thursday morning. We do Superstars for this country, and then we do International Heat. And everybody else that did those, they would stop down all the time and blah, blah, blah. And it'd take like 4 hours to do 2 one-hour shows, which are 45 minutes apiece without commercials. Well, JR and I did not like to stop down. We liked to do it like it was live. So we would see, and we would end up doing 2 one-hour shows in an hour and 45 minutes with a 15-minute break to re-rack tape in between. So I was like, okay. Well, I wasn't going to say sports entertainment, so I changed it to, better to win this contest or just to win this match or whatever. But it was little shit like that back when I was there, but now they actually have an entire handbook of phrases that you cannot use. And it's been out on the internet, and you can look it up, but like that's how WWE Universe came about. Didn't want to call them fans. Can't say the fans. Now you can't say the referees' names, I'm told. You're not allowed to identify the referees. They are there on your screen, but they don't exist in real life. Because they don't have names. Sometimes he would get boiling mad. I would understand this. This is something I would pick apart in a wrestling training class. But Vince would hate it when a guy would be backed up into the corner and another guy would choke him around the neck and the guy, or be punching him in the face, and the guy's hands would be on the top rope. Right? You see a guy gets backed in the corner, he grabs it, it's nature, you grab the top rope on either side, but while you're being choked or punched in the face, Vince believed, and this is true, if it was real, you'd either try to be covering up your face or prying the fucking hands away. And that's true, and I would call that to everybody's attention in wrestling classes. But he would go on about it in meetings for fucking 5 or 10 minutes. Look at this fucking guy. You know, the fucking blah, blah, blah. Just certain things get under his skin, and over a period of time, they have now compiled all of those things, and so they give the announcers all these words. You've seen them. I can't even remember what else they've banned now, or suggested recommended verbiage for, but it's a whole goddamn list. And it's all about trying to remove phrases and terms that he thinks are wrestling. And he's done a pretty good job of removing all of the wrestling out of his wrestling program. But, strap was worse than belt. He hated the word, drop the strap. That was a phrase in the industry. If you're going to switch your belt, Brian is going to beat Jim for the Southeastern title. You go, well, I'm going to drop the strap to you. Oh, he hated that. And it's things that in his mind make his program more associated with professional wrestling. Imagine that. And I was there that time in the meeting. There was Vince. There was Shane. This was before Stephanie. Shane came. Shane's older, so Shane was around the office before Stephanie was, after he got out of school. Vince and Shane and myself and Bruce Pritchard and Shitstain and Kevin Dunn and Jim Ross and a variety of upper management folks that worked in the office. They were I can't remember what the subject of the meeting was called about, but Shane brought it up. He said, well, what should we call our superstars besides superstars? I said, how about wrestlers? They all look at me, because I couldn't help it. And they'll look, no, should we call it, and I can't remember what his suggestions were, but it was basically everything but actors at that point. Entertainers came up and this and that. I said this, and I didn't give a fuck, because that's why I couldn't wait to get out of there. And I mean out of Connecticut and out of that whole fucking office, because I liked many of the people that worked there, and I liked the wrestling business still at that point in time, when it kind of still was the wrestling business, and I wanted to work hard and do good, but I would sit there and listen to these stupid arguments and stupid discussions of things that made no sense, where they would try to pretend to be something different than they were. Fan. But I said they are wrestlers having wrestling matches, wearing wrestling boots and wrestling tights in a wrestling ring for a company called the World Wrestling Federation. So why the fuck would we not call them wrestlers? And then everybody ignores me and decides, well, should we call them entertainers, or should we go... It was maddening.
Did they recognize the fact that the general public didn't do that? I mean, to the average person who doesn't watch wrestling, they're wrestlers, and the show is wrestling.
Yes, no, they did not recognize that. They did not recognize. Kevin Dunn not only didn't recognize that, or wouldn't admit it out. That's probably why he's still there, because if you go along, and even if you don't believe something, if you say it out loud so that they can hear you say it and assume that you're on board with it, then you're okay. But if you question it, then, well, he's not with the program. Well, guess what? I ain't with the fucking program. So you would actually hear them saying these phrases to each other. And that's the big problem I had with not a big problem, but just the problem I had with Bruce, is that even when we were just speaking just ourselves, he wouldn't admit that this shit was bullshit, and that we were calling stuff that was one thing by obviously another name. Because I guess they were afraid that Vince had the house bugged or whatever. But no, they did not recognize that nobody has ever said that I can't wait to get my sports entertainment tickets. Or did you see the sports entertainment matches last night? Or I think I'll go to sports entertainment. And Kevin Dunn was the worst one, because he would bring the studio employees in. And I mentioned this before, the documentaries that they do, the studio people and the technical folks and the producers and etc., the editors, they work very hard on those, and they don't even know that they're, in a lot of cases, that they're rewriting history. Some of them know, and they have no choice but to do so, but some of them don't even know. Back then, they didn't know a lot of things because they would have no wrestling background and be hired to come to work for Titan Television, and they would be educated on wrestling by Kevin Dunn. And, you know, and he would say in production meetings when somebody was making a debut, Terry Funk, that famous time in Madison Square Garden where Terry Funk came out on Raw as Chainsaw Charlie. Well, nobody's going to know Terry Funk in Madison Square Garden. He wasn't a big deal for us, and he hasn't been here in 10 years. I said, are you out of your mind? He's Terry Funk. Every wrestling fan in the world knows who Terry Funk is. It's not like he hasn't just been on fucking WCW a couple of years before, and ECW just recently, and he was all over fucking TBS for years, and he was an NWA World Champion. Everybody's going to know Terry. Well, we should do some kind of precondition. Nobody's going to know. Oh, God damn it. And, of course, he went out and raised that chainsaw and did that fucking Terry sideways limp, and within 5 seconds, people were chanting, Terry, Terry, Terry. But Kevin Dunn would look at you dead seriously in the eye and say, any major superstar that was appearing for the first time for the WWF, we need to do a precondition or something, because our fans are not wrestling fans, and they're not going to know who he is.
Didn't he stop you at one point from, was it you mentioning the Dynamite Kid or you mentioning the Freebirds?
Oh, the Freebird, no, he didn't stop me. He said something about it afterwards. When they had the Brood, Edge, Christian, and Gangrel together. And I thought those guys, they looked great. The gimmick was good because they looked like the vampire guys that was hot at that time. And they were young, and I've always been a fan of Edge and Christian, and Gangrel was the veteran at that point, but he actually went and got the fangs. And so I'm putting them over on commentary. And I said some of the effect of, not since the Fabulous Freebirds has 3 men like this made such an impact, or whatever the fuck, right? Kevin Dunn calls me over to the side later on at, I think next to TV, he'd heard the show. He said, don't come, and this was when Michael Hayes was working for the company, but he was Doc Hendricks then. He said, don't compare the Brood to the Freebirds. I said, what? He said, it makes them sound old. Nobody remembers the Freebirds. I said, I said, if these guys draw a 10th of the money as the Freebirds did, we'd all be turning cartwheels down fucking Main Street in Stamford here. Are you out of your mind? And another time, I drew a comparison between, I don't know, somebody or other, and we were at a pay-per-view the next week, and in the production meeting, Kevin Dunn said, make sure to, with Pete Rose was involved somehow, I was going up on that WrestleMania, and Kevin Dunn said, well, make sure to mention that last time Pete Rose was, I think, in Boston or wherever, he hit 47 home runs in a single game, or whatever the fuck it was. Who gives a shit? And this is 1998, that was in 1970 fucking 3 or whatever. So I went up to him afterwards, over in a corner where nobody else could hear us. I said, Kevin, I gotta ask you this. I said, you just criticized me for drawing a comparison between one of our talents and somebody else from 15 years ago in the same sport. And I'm trying to make my point. He breaks it. He says, Courtney, this is not a sport. I said, maybe not the way you fucking do it, but it is the way I fucking do it. And then I got hot and I finished the fucking question. I said, the point is, you blister me for comparing somebody from however long ago to somebody now that we've got in the same sport, in the same business, but yet you expect people to remember 25 years later that this fucking jack-off baseball player that's going to take his fucking Hall of Fame payoff, I wasn't saying this, but that's what he did, and go to the casino, that's why he's asking for it in cash. I said, you say that somebody is going to remember that 25 years ago this fucking baseball player hit fucking however many home runs, and that's something that we're supposed to talk about on a wrestling program. What the fuck is the difference? We're trying to get our people over, not this fucking baseball player. And he just looked at, I said, you know what, never mind. I said, never, and I just walked away from him. Because you couldn't even get through to the guy that what he was doing was basically contradictory to what he would say about the wrestling business. As long as it's a baseball player or a football player, give their entire goddamn background. But if it's a wrestler, well, nobody's going to remember that because that's years ago and they didn't wrestle for the WWF and our fans aren't wrestling fans. Well, guess what, Kevin Dunn? Now none of your fans are wrestling fans, and you got a lot less fans than you used to.
I found a list of some of Vince's banned words.
There you go.
Belt, strap. Obviously, You just said it. It says here, we don't have belts or straps. We have championships, titles. The belt represents something. Well, it kind of defeats the purpose there.
Yeah.
Talk about what it represents. Hard work and dedication. Or it means accomplishment of goals, bullseye for others. Don't say the business or our industry.
And I'm with business. It should be sport. See, JR came up with industry, and now that JR's gone, they won't let you say industry. JR came up with industry because they didn't want him to say sport, and he didn't like to say business. So he came up with industry or wrestling. They didn't want you to say wrestling, so he came up with industry, and I thought that worked because it's it's not offensively phony. But now they don't want you to say that.
And for the record, the sheet I'm looking at appears to be from, at a minimum, 2008, maybe 2009. Don't say feud. Don't say war. Don't say performance or performer or choreograph. Well, that seems like a natural one not to say.
Well, but wait a minute. Didn't they just say perform about 172 times on one of these shows last week?
I'm guessing Vince may have pulled back on that one. Don't say house show, use live event. Don't say backstage, use in the back or in the locker room area.
I like that.
Don't say pro wrestling or pro wrestler, use superstar, star, or athlete. Don't say international, use global. Jesus.
Oh yeah, hey, that's I guess now that wrestling is back on TNT and back under the Turner family, do they get to say foreign object now? Is that out of fashion and still down there?
Was that a Jim Herd thing or a Turner?
That was a Turner thing, and the announcers started making fun of it because
it's ridiculous.
Ted Turner had decided, in the interest of us all being one people, that things shouldn't be foreign anymore. So he banned the word foreign from being said on, and it was a great sentiment, but he banned the word foreign from being said on the network. However, foreign in wrestling had another connotation, such as foreign object. Well, they actually legitimately told the wrestling announcers that they couldn't say foreign object anymore. So the announcers started calling it an international object because it was so fucking stupid. And that's how that happened.
Don't say shot, as in no title shots.
Oh, I know. That is why all these guys have this unwieldy verbiage where they say title opportunity, which sounds like dog shit. And remember the guy a couple weeks ago on Raw said, we're going to get a SmackDown tag team title match opportunity. Because he couldn't figure out, it's a shot at the title. Take a shot at the brass ring, pal. He doesn't like that, though.
Don't say acrobatics. Don't say interesting. What's up with that? I don't understand that one.
I guarantee you that some way or another, somebody used the word interesting in a way that Vince didn't like, and Vince found something wrong with it, and it's one of those things that he doesn't like. I don't know about that one.
Don't say DQ. Don't say talent. Use star. Don't say me or I.
Wait a minute. DQ is another one of those wrestling terms that he doesn't like. Me or I is because he wants the announcers to speak for the fans. How would the fans? He wants them to represent what the fans feel instead of what they think.
Don't use inside terms like heel, babyface, blown up, shoot, rip, mark, etc. You'd agree on that one?
I'd agree. Everything. Say, is blown up just a wrestling term?
I don't know.
Son of a bitch. Maybe, every once in a while, I've said I'm blown up to fucking people not in the wrestling business if I'm out of breath, and they kind of look at me like they don't really know what I'm talking about.
Maybe so, then.
That may be a wrestling. I don't know what some of these, I've been around it so long, but some of these are, non-wrestling terms people wouldn't know. But yes, I agree with most of that.
Don't use U.S., say United States. This kind of shows the age of this one. This is before the universe. Don't say fans. When possible, refer to the audience as you. In other situations, ID them. Raw fans, our fans, Cena's fans, etc.
Now it's gone all the way to no fans.
Don't say hospital. Use medical center. Don't say faction. Use group. Please use now available instead of on sale. We never want to use the term the title is on the line. And then it has some recent additions as of 2008. A note from Vincent K. McMahon. Less is more. Layout. Make what you have to say more important and make the audience listen to you. Use rhetorical questions, then lay out. Let the audience digest the material. And then another note from Vince. Per Vince McMahon, going forward, we never want to use the term, the title is on the line. Please use more creative terms like, the title will be defended.
He hates that.
And then another one is a note from Big, per Vincent K.
Oh,
McMahon.
God, that's when he was there.
Please do not use the term sports entertainment. Going forward, please use entertainment in its place.
So just take the sports completely out. That's not that big. John Gaborik, right? He was the guy on Tough Enough. Do you know that not only did fans think he was an ex-wrestler, but I found out when I went down there to do the week of TNA tapings for Jeff Jarrett in 2017, right? Summertime, because it was hot, even for Florida. So it must have been August-ish. He was working for him at that time because he had been let go from the WWF. And some of the wrestlers thought that he had been a wrestler. That's why they were listening to him. I didn't have any problem with the guy, but I knew he was a friend of Kevin Dunn, so I knew he was a jughead. But that's what it was. He was a television production guy that was a friend of Kevin Dunn's that was out of work, and they brought him in and gave him a spot on Tough Enough. And put with him with that big head, when they put him out there, people thought that he was some kind of ex-wrestler or wrestling personality because he was grading the Tough Enough guys, right? You remember him.
Yeah.
And I said, no. I said, he's never had anything to do with wrestling besides being on that show because he worked in the production company at Titan TV because he was friends with Kevin Dunn from Baltimore. What? That explains a lot. Then they realized, what the fuck? Like I said, I didn't have a problem with him, but it's just that he was speaking to guys and they were listening like he was a sage, fucking wrestling coach. And so the only cross thing I had, and I just ignored it, but at that TNA taping was they wanted to have, who the fuck was it? John Morrison was there. And he was Johnny Impact then. And whoever the heel was that was working with him, could it have been Eli Drake? Might have been. I can't remember. They wanted to have him come in the ring and jump John and just beat him up. And Johnny had just won a match, and plus every other match was in and a beatdown. I said, if you really want to lay him out and fucking make an impact, make it different from all this other shit, let's break the board over his head. He said, what? I said, yeah. So I got the board and I fixed it. I ran him to the Home Depot and got the shit and fixed the board. Ran through with the guys because I'm helping produce the stuff. And right as we're about to go out, Big says, you can't do that. So what are you talking about? No chair shots and no head shots. I said, I fixed the board. No, we can't do it. We can't do it. I said, it's already, and I'd gone to Jeff and made this change, right? Jeff Jarrett had approved this. I said, here's what we're going to do, and he comes in, boom, boom, boom. Oh, that's better. That's good. Do that. And he'd even helped show the heel how to fucking swing the board and not to fucking hold back, because you have to commit to that swing or it won't work, and you will hurt the guy. I said, I cleared it with Jeff. He said, it doesn't matter. Now he's got heat with me, because Jeff has come in to take this fucking company over again and try to get it back in fucking some state of affairs, and I'm there for Jeff, and he's trying to overrule Jeff on something we're about to go do. I said, well, I got news for you. This is what we're going to fucking do. And he sat back down. So the heel comes in, I'm interviewing Morrison, the heel comes in, he turns around, I duck, he breaks the board over his head, the thing flies into a million pieces, the people fucking pop. Johnny goes down. The fucking heel standing over him. I'm checking on John, taking his pulse, and Johnny opens one eye, looks up at me, and smiles and says, good call on the board, Corny. Because he didn't want to take another one of those giant fucking bumps, and it didn't hurt him because it was fixed. And the fucking goof thought we were really going to break something over the fucking guy's head. No, chair shots to the head are barred. Well, this is wrestling, motherfuckers. Sit back and let the professionals drive, and you just look at the fucking monitor. But we're outnumbered now. They all come from these environments. They come from the environment where you get paid to train and go to school to learn how to become a wrestler, or you get hired to write wrestling despite having never been in a locker room before, much less actually inside the railing. I was there when Shitstains gave me that immortal line we'd gone to do on cameras for some fucking... He was doing commentary on the New York show, right? You remember that when they had WWF New York on WOR or something late at night, and they got Shitstain to do the color. My ex-wife one time accidentally watched it. She said, I can't understand a word he's fucking saying. I said, it only shows in New York. They'll get it. Nobody else would. But anyway, we're coming back up the fucking ramp after the on-cameras were taped. He said, that was so cool. I said, what? He said, I've never been inside the railing while a match was going on before. This was the guy that was writing the fucking show. So that's what we got now after 20 years. That's all of them. All the writers, they were going through the men's locker room, be whistling Stranger in Paradise. A lot of the wrestlers think that it's normal to get paid to go to school and learn your fucking craft. And the ones that don't, the ones that are out there starving on the independents, well, they're starving because most of these companies are booking the Invisible Man and JoJo the Dog-Faced Boy. And they think that crowd thinks that it's okay to laugh and make fun of the business, and they're shocked at wrestlers or wrestling fans that take it seriously. So we're all pretty much outnumbered here these days.
I see some quotes here from a Chris Jericho interview that he did at some point in the last few years, and doesn't seem to be about something on camera. It seems to be about actually talking to Vince. Was it like this with you, that you weren't allowed to use, or you couldn't use the word job? Instead, Vince would insist that you use the word favor? Someone didn't job for you, they did a favor for you?
Well, yes and no. I can see Vince doing that with the talent. I started to say I can see him, and then I'm hearing pronouns, pal. That's another thing. He doesn't want you to say, look, he drop-kicked him. He wants you to say, Brian drop-kicked Jim, because he said he drop-kicked him. Doesn't mean anything. Too many. Use pronouns, pal. That's something you can agree with, too. But if we're sitting around saying, can we get fucking Brett to do a job for Sean, he didn't mind the word job. But when he was there conveying to the top talent all the reasons why that they should be defeated in that match, he didn't want to call it a job, he wanted to call it a favor. So there's two different environments there. In a booking meeting, you can job all day long.
because none of you in that meeting are doing the job. But when he's talking somebody into doing the job, it becomes a fake.
One last thing about this. When The Rock started using the line, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, was that written for him, or was that something he started, using the word sports entertainer there, was that something he had decided to do?
I think he was there for that, because Rocky came in right as it was all changing, and he was going to get with the fucking curve, especially when he got that second lease on life after Die Rocky Die, when they pushed him as that kid and play fucking babyface. So he knew that you weren't supposed to say wrestling, so he was taking that upon himself. He was still going to be the most electrifying man in whatever the fuck he was in. So, you know, and I don't blame him for doing that. Because if he'd have said one time, I'm the most electrifying man in professional wrestling, they wouldn't let him say it anymore. But because he said, I'm the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, they let him say it all the time, and he got it over.
Our next question, Jim, sent in the cornydrivethru@gmail.com from Paul in Connecticut. What do you think about the story that CM Punk's return was shot down by Vince McMahon? Have you heard about this?
Have you heard about this? Have you read about this? I saw on the internet there was a quote that Vince said, he's just the one man I can't do business with. Of course, we've heard that about a couple of other men, though.
But it's interesting because apparently the story goes, and who knows how accurate it is, CM Punk's representatives got in touch with WWE and said, would you guys be open to him doing something? And Vince had that attitude. And it's interesting because CM Punk didn't really do much, I guess, for the ratings of that backstage show when it was on. But what does this say about Punk with the future with the WWE? But also, if that's Vince's attitude, what value does he have for AEW?
Well, he would have value for AEW if they had CM Punk on their television show. That would be a boon to them because he's a major name and he's a fish that got away. However, he really botched it with the way he returned to television. I don't know what his relationship is with Vince, but it hurt me to hear that his representatives reached out, because I was like, here, the modern day Jack Briscoe, this is the one guy that's going to walk away and say, fuck you and mean it, right? Whether he comes back to wrestling, at least he would not come back to the WWE. And I was pulling for him to do that because somebody needs to. So I hate to think that he's the one that asked them if he could come back, and we haven't heard him say that that's the case to verify that. But to come back to television at the level of star he was, and the people that chanted for a while, we want Punk or CM Punk or whatever, and still that if you did something on a national show with a big splash, he would mean something, and he can talk his ass off. I don't know what his work's like these days. He's been out of the ring 5 years or whatever, but he's a personality. But to come back on a show about a show, WWE Backstage, that's like, you're not a star on Walking Dead, you're a guest on Talking Dead. Fuck that. For him to have come back just to do a TV show about a TV show, and then not even be the host of it or be a regular, be the star of it, just pop in every now and then, it's like, you know, he suddenly became, if it was a movie, he wouldn't be the star, he'd be the best friend. He's a supporting actor now. He's just a fucking guy that bops it. That was a major mistake to come back to anything wrestling related. I'm not saying he couldn't do a bit part in a movie or any TV show or whatever, but in the wrestling genre, if he was not going to come back and make a splash at a major fucking pay-per-view or a big national television show on the show in an angle, whether it be AEW, WWE, or whatever, just to pop up and say hello on WWE Backstage, that was not the greatest thing to do.
The idea that Vince is saying that's the one guy I can't do business with, have you ever heard him talk about anyone else like that?
Well, Savage.
You heard that, though?
Well, he's been quoted as saying, I will not do business with that man. I never brought his fucking name up after. I was there when Savage was still there before he left. And after he left, I saw how pissed Vince was. And I was never going to be the one to say, hey, why don't we see what Savage is doing? Fuck that. I didn't want to get a mallet upside my head. But I know Punk has been a complete
nightmare for them to try to do business with. And also, he had that great line with Triple H where he said, I don't need to work with you. You need to work with me. That was, and so now the son-in-law is fucking hot. And he made it plain that he didn't want to wrestle anymore. He did the whole UFC thing. I think Vince is like, fuck it. I'm not going to fucking waste my time and stress over this guy. It's not worth it. I'm still far enough ahead. Man, I'm not saying that CM Punk is in the wrong, because all the misery that he went through, which you can't make all that shit up. He had some misery. Generally, when I say fuck it, I'm done with somebody, fuck it, I'm done for fucking life. Every once in a while, I'll go back to the same company, but only with a complete change in management, and even that's not very often. As I've said before, if you have a miserable experience and hate your life when you're dealing with somebody, why do you want to go back again?
You know, Brody Lee had an interesting comment in that Jericho interview. He said that he remembered talking to CM Punk, and CM Punk, who obviously had a lot of issues with WWE, even when he was there, he said that the thing about WWE is everything could be better. Like, anything you think about, anything you do, anything that's going on, everything could be better. And I think that's really interesting.
Well, it's true, because it's gotten bigger than a wrestling promotion is supposed to be. I've said it before, wrestling should never have been national to begin with. Wrestling, the regional territories were the perfect way to present wrestling, because you had wrestling everywhere, but the specific wrestling that you had in places was the specific kind of wrestling that those people in those places would like. And whether it was crazy fucking fights and, bloody fucking brawls in Memphis, or technical wrestling in Florida mixed with some bloody brawls, or, the fucking big guys in the Northeast, or the Little East Tennessee territory was completely different than the Memphis territory, because those people definitely knew what real fights looked like, and so they did hard ways and all that bullshit that, I don't say bullshit fondly, to make people believe in that small area. But you had the regional promotions were tailored to the places that they ran, but it was still overall professional wrestling. You can't have one style of fucking wrestling and present it everywhere, because that doesn't work, and then you can't do anything locally. So WWE's gotten so big, it could all be better, but there's so many people involved, so many channels to go through, so much bullshit, the PG shit, the publicly traded shit, you can't offend anybody. Heaven knows, somebody was to grab somebody's ass in a fucking locker room or something, there'd probably be a goddamn hanging over it. So you can't present wrestling the same way all across the country, because different regions have different people that like different shit. And I saw old Uncle Dave, actually, he lived there and he still couldn't get this. And somebody asked him, said, well, was JYD really as over in Mid-South? Or I can't remember what the question was, but there was a comparison of Kerry Von Erich and JYD. And Dave, for a period of about a year, lived in Oklahoma because he lived in North Texas and went to matches in Oklahoma because he worked for a newspaper down there. I think it was Wichita Falls. Anyway, he said, well, when I saw those Mid-South shows live in Oklahoma City, Kerry Von Erich's pop was just as big as JYD's. Well, all things being equal, yes, it was. But here's the problem. All things weren't equal. JYD first got over in New Orleans and Louisiana and Mississippi because that was where Mid-South Wrestling promoted in 1980 and 81. The states of Louisiana and Mississippi. They didn't take over from Leroy McGurk the rest of his tri-state territory, Oklahoma and Arkansas, until 1982. So the people in Oklahoma had never seen JYD's first 2 years, the formative 2 years where he became God in New Orleans, and saw all those angles to get the full flavor of the history. But they were seeing the Dallas TV with the Von Erichs from World Class, because not only was it syndicated across the country, but
in Oklahoma before it was syndicated across the country. It was a
losing it.
3-hour drive from Dallas. World Class was on local television in those Oklahoma towns. Even when
That
the
truck.
truck was still promoted. Plays on the piece.
Out for a Sunday drive?
Yes, that's why the
Crap, it's Spider-Man! Call for backup! Got Daddy!
Oh boy, gang's all here.
Pay for that! Whoa! Watch it! Stand still! Make this quick!
it. You've got a fucking Texas cowboy, second-generation wrestler like Kerry Von Erich in Oklahoma, and your other babyface is a black guy. Well, there wasn't a lot of black people in Oklahoma. So while JYD was a god in New Orleans, especially at the downtown Municipal Auditorium,
I'm gonna break you!
Biker gang down. Let's see what's in that truck. Chemical containers. But they're scrubbed clean. Looks like they came from the Alchemax plant in Harlem, but what was in them? And that sound means the end of our lightning round. Should head to Alchemax when I get a chance and find out what was in those barrels. Tombstone's up to something. Probably illegal. Definitely dangerous.
A group of terrorists assassinate American citizens in a bombing attack. How is it possible that instead of being wiped out of existence, these masked criminals are still at large and still striking at innocent people like Oscorp CFO Charles Standish in their own homes? How? You're on with J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, my cousin's a corrections officer, and he says the demons they've arrested aren't talking. They clam up, won't even speak to their lawyers.
This underscores a concern I've had about these demons. They're not regular criminals. They might not even be ordinary terrorists, although they certainly commit terrorist acts. But it looks to me more and more like they're a cult.
Are you kidding me? Those kind of people are out of their minds. They'll do anything.
It's horrifying, isn't it? Does this mean that we have to live in fear? To be constantly looking over our shoulders? To expect an attack at any moment? My opinion, folks, the answer is yes.
Huh. Can't forget about that shady rooftop box you recalled about. Huh. Can't forget about that shady rooftop box you recalled about. Rooftop box, right. Gotta check out that rooftop box. Rooftop box, right. Gotta check out that rooftop box.